Hello, welcome. What you're about to see is not for the faint-hearted. What you're about to see is what I like to call the scary doors. Good luck.
Yo, what's up guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Underdog Eats Reviews and I watched the 18th episode of the Twilight Zone. This episode was, I just watched, before I watched the Twilight Zone, I just watched Call Time, which you get later today, with featuring starring Taro Magnus, in the movie. He doesn't feature in my review because I don't know him. I only see him on YouTube. But and that movie, if you're not gonna watch it, to be honest, it wasn't really it for me. And then I watched the Twilight Zone, and the first story wasn't really it either. The first story was based apparently on a short story of Stephen King, which it was quite nice. Nice that you used one of Stephen King, but the first story was just really not it. It was just no. So let's start with the first story, shall we? We hear a boy and a mom talk to each other. She's maybe asking questions and all, do you know where this is? Do you know where this is? Because apparently he has to house sit for a bit. We see then the kid sitting at the kitchen counter, and like I said, she's asking some stuff and telling him some stuff. Oh, you can find this there and there, and don't forget to give Grandma her tea. Okay. The mom then leaves, and the kid looks at the hallway. He then walks towards the front door, and the front door's open. Just the screen is closed. Maybe it's a hot summer, I don't know. But still, I wouldn't do that kind of shit. Especially if I'm home alone with Grandma. But still, I wouldn't do that kind of shit, If Grandma is bedridden, I'm not gonna do door open, screen closed. Hell no. You don't know who's coming in. But anyway, so he looks outside, then walks back to the kitchen to put his plate and his glass, from the counter into the kitchen sink. And he writes something on the chalkboard that's hanging in the kitchen. And we're gonna leave it at that, because if you don't know what's gonna happen next, watch the episode yourself. Like I said, the first episode was just not good. To me, it was not. No, I just didn't like it. It just didn't grab me. The second story was rather okay. What was the second story? It's been a couple hours since. It's been 7 hours since I watched it, so. Oh yeah, I remember. The second story was rather okay. I wouldn't say from wowza. This was an amazing story. It was not as good as Miss Doubtfire. Go watch my review for Miss Doubtfire, because that movie was it. Rest in peace, Robin Williams. The third story was rather alright. It climbed a bit with how good it was. The first story was not good, the second story was a bit better, and the third story was even better than the second story. But overall, this episode was kind of ruined by the first story. The first story really drained my last bit of motivation to watch the episode, and my last bit of joy to watch that episode, because like I said, I didn't really enjoy Call Time, and I will go deeper into that, in the review. But let's say I like Tyrone Magnus more as a YouTuber than as an actor. The same, but the story just the episode was just not it. It was just kind of ruined by the first story. So I think I give the episode a high 2, low 3. Yes. Yeah, high 2, low 3. Because it just wasn't it, Like I said, not every story has to be good. Not every story has to be amazing. But, the first story was just not it. And especially not after watching that movie. No. That said, I'm gonna leave likes, recommend a good story, recommend a good show down below in the comment section, subscribe to the channel, come join Discord, and see you guys later for Call Time, the final today, and otherwise tomorrow for Judge Dredd. Yes, we're gonna watch tomorrow Judge Dredd. Also go watch my Miss Doubtfire review, because really, I love that movie. Not to spoil much, about it, but I fucking love that movie. I get it. I get why it's a cult classic, because it's really up there. But I'm not going to spoil it too much, and I'm going to leave that and see you guys tomorrow for Judge Dredd, and otherwise later for Call Time, the final.